Welcome my fellow captains, I hope you're all doing extremely well. So in this video we're going to be talking about all of the main aviation news that has been occurring over the last few days. I mean, there's nothing groundbreaking that's occurring at this moment in time apart from the COVID related incidents, but it's still worth sharing nonetheless. So first of all, Delta Airlines is facing a lot of trouble with the decline of passenger demand in the US. As a consequence of this, they've now issued around 2,000 furlough notices to pilots last night, telling them they won't be needed in October as financial pressure mounts and customers continue to decide not to fly. Now, America's COVID pandemic just keeps on running and running, and the Trump administration is acting like nothing is even happening. Business travelers, which serve the lifeblood of most airlines and their main profit centers, just aren't coming back at this moment in time. Even if some companies try and force people to fly, it's just a matter of fact that most people are willing to have conversations over Skype than face to face. Newer pilots will be affected by this first, but if unions were to agree to a more deeper, more permanent cut across the whole company, then the furloughs might be avoided. Another airline which is part of the major three is American Airlines, and they've just announced that they will be cutting another 20,000 jobs across the company from the end of September into October. The problem for them is that the bailout money from the government is ending, and the Senate refuses to pass the bill because they think $3 trillion is just way too much. There's an argument that by artificially popping up the airlines when there just isn't a market for their services, no amount of money is going to keep them as they are. A viable vaccine is a long way off, maybe 6 months and at least a year before enough people have it to make a difference. Even then, it's still exponentially unlikely the world will just snap back to how things were in 2019. Airlines are just going to have to adapt to the current situation. Now, Finnair has sold and leased back one of its A350-900s, giving it another €100 million to keep it running. The airline is spending around €3 million per day, so another month's grace. They've also negotiated to cut 1,000 jobs, which is almost 15% of its workforce. Scandinavian Airlines has agreed to push back 2 of the A350-900s and 8 A320neos with Airbus. The airline still wants to be all Airbus by 2023, but that will come about mostly through retirement of Boeing aircraft rather than buying new ones. So the delays to buying new aircraft between 2021 and 2024 will help save the airline's capital and also preserve their cash. Now, it goes without saying that almost every airline is going through a period of restructuring, and Qantas has no international plans at this moment in time, and they don't plan on restarting them until well into next year, mostly for the Southern Hemisphere summer season starting in September to October 2021. They've also outlined plans to lose another 2,500 jobs by outsourcing its ground handling operations. Now, the Indian government couldn't have picked a worse time for selling off Air India, and it has delayed the deadline for interested parties to make offers by another 2 months. The COVID pandemic has made it virtually impossible to sell, as the ongoing concern and the interest has virtually evaporated. The government would be in a safer place forgetting about the sale, and if it does get buyers, it will be a near fire sale, but the argument seems to be that it costs the state so much money that they'd almost like to get rid of the airline altogether. Now, in terms of the COVID-19, Germany has scrapped airport COVID testing for the time being, saying that they're reimposing 14-day quarantines on travellers from appropriate destinations instead. The COVID testing simply isn't quick enough or accurate enough, and it believes too many international arrivals, including Germans returning from holidays, have slipped through the net. This move is very similar to the UK government policy, where they've insisted that airport testing just doesn't work well enough, and quarantines are the only way to contain the risk. The problem for airlines is that the quarantines causes panic returns on full aircraft, ferries and rail services. It's estimated that countries hit with quarantine see around 15 to 20% of visitors try to leave immediately and others just stay. And finally, news regarding the Airbus A380. Well, Rolls-Royce and EASA have agreed to widen the A380 Trent 900 inspection regime. An airworthiness directive which was issued on the 25th of August calls for repetitive on-wing inspections of spaces between intermediate pressure compressors. Now, Rolls-Royce has recommended the initial inspections after finding 2 instances of cracked spaces between stage 2 and stage 3 IPC discs. There's absolutely no doubt about it that Rolls-Royce are deeply concerned that they may be facing problems with 112 A380s and some 448 engines on the aircraft, along with around another 100 spares. And the company has admitted that the Trent 1000 problems costs over $2.4 billion. So there you go, captains, that was the main aviation news that occurred over the last couple of days. I know it's not very interesting compared to other months, but still it is what it is. Now do let me know what you think in the comments below, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys very soon.